We are joined now by Time's Person of the Year, President-elect Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, good morning.
Good morning.
Last year, when Time did not choose you as Person of the Year and chose Angela Merkel, you said Time magazine will never pick me as Person of the Year. They proved you wrong. How do you feel about this?
Well, it's a great honor. It means a lot, especially me growing up reading Time magazine, and it's a very important magazine, and I've been lucky enough to be on the cover many times this year, and last year. But I consider this a very, very great honor.
Well, I'm interested to hear you say that because, as Nancy Gibb has said this year and in the past, the magazine has always been willing to say it was a person who influenced events for better or for worse. So just confirming, you see this as a compliment, not some kind of condemnation.
Well, as an example, when you say divided states of America, I didn't divide them. They're divided now. I mean, there's a lot of division. And we're going to put it back together, and we're going to have a country that's very well healed, and we're going to be a great economic force, and we're going to build up our military and safety, and we're going to do a lot of great things, and it's going to be something very special. But to be on the cover of Time magazine as the Person of the Year is a tremendous honor.
You are now 30 days into your transition. You've made a lot of news. Last night you made it official that General Mattis is your choice for Secretary of Defense. Still open is Secretary of State, probably the premier position in any administration. How close are you to making that call?
I think fairly close. I think next week will be the time that I announce it, and I have some other big announcements coming up today and actually tomorrow. But we've been met with, really very good reviews of the people that I've chosen. I think that General Mattis is going to be terrific. He's going to be absolutely terrific. It's a little bit outside the box. He's a tough cookie. We need a tough cookie. He's smart. He's brilliant, actually, and as a tactician, he's brilliant. And I really look forward to it. He's also a very high-quality man. I flew with him last night to North Carolina, where we really introduced him in front of a tremendous crowd. And I'll tell you, the crowd loves him.
Let me go back to Secretary of State for a second. I want to read off some of the names it's been reported you're considering for that position. Mitt Romney, Rudy Giuliani, David Petraeus, Bob Corker, and Ambassador John Bolton. Have you now crossed any of those names off your list?
Well, I think I have in my own mind. I don't want to say which ones, but I think I have in my own mind. And there's some other. We have a great, great gentleman, the boss over at Exxon, and
Rex Tillerson.
He's built a tremendous company over a period of years with great style.
Let me go back to Mitt Romney. Is he still under consideration?
Yes, he is.
Does he have a chance to become Secretary of State?
Yes, he does. I mean, I've spoken to him a lot. We've come a long way together. We had some tremendous difficulty together, and now I think we've come a long way. But the answer is yes, he does.
So this isn't about some case of stringing him along as revenge being a dish best served cold for the comments he made during the campaign?
No, it's not about revenge. It's about what's good for the country. And I'm able to put this stuff behind us. And I hit him very hard also, which is very nice that the press doesn't cover that. I'm very happy about that, actually.
You picked a fight 24 hours ago with Boeing about the new Air Force One project and the cost of that project, which you cited at over $4 billion. And you went on to say this: I think Boeing is doing a little bit of a number. Now, I read that as you saying that you think Boeing is perhaps taking advantage of the American taxpayer. Do you have any proof of that?
Well, I think the planes are too expensive. I spoke to a very good man yesterday, the head of Boeing, terrific guy, and we're going to work it out. But, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to negotiate prices. And the planes are too expensive, and we're going to get the prices down. And if we don't get the prices down, we're not going to order them. We're going to stay with what we have.
You mentioned the head of Boeing that you spoke to. Your comments about Boeing, by the way, shortly after you made those comments, the market value of Boeing dropped about $1 billion in a matter of minutes before rebounding later in the day. But your comments on Boeing came just a short while after an article came out where the CEO of Boeing was critical of your trade policies. So was this in the end about the price of those planes, or was this about retribution?
Well, only the planes, because I didn't see an article where he was critical of trade policies. And my trade policies are going to be terrific. And by the way, we're lowering taxes in this country. We're getting rid of 90%, maybe 85% of the regulations, which is stifling business. Boeing is going to be a tremendous beneficiary of that, and maybe even mostly regulations. I mean, people are more happy about the regulations, even though we're massively cutting taxes for business.
After you criticize Boeing, the Washington Post has a headline today saying corporations are unnerved in this country. Let me go on to another subject.
I think that's just the Washington Post, because no matter what you do, they'll never say good. And what happens is they're so unnerved that the stock market is at an all-time record since I've been elected, and since I won the nomination. Number one, we did well, and after I won the election, you see what happened. I mean, in the history of our country, there's never been an up this big after an election. So I don't know how somebody said this, people are unnerved. It's just the opposite. And frankly, I think we're going to go up. We have tremendous room, tremendous margin in our country, but we have to do things right. And I believe in free trade, but I don't believe in stupid trade. And stupid trade is when our companies all move out of our country, fire their workers, and then come back in, Matt, and sell their product back in with no retribution. Well, I'm just saying very simply, if they want to fire their workers, move to Mexico or some other country, and sell their product into our country, they're going to be paying a tax.
Your transition team made some news yesterday on a conference call where it was announced, and I want to get your take on this, that you sold all of your stock holdings, and you did it back in June. Is it true, and why are we just hearing about this now?
Well, I've never been a big person for the stock market, frankly, but over the years I bought stock, and I bought them when they were low. I saw what was going on with interest rates was so low. It almost seemed that it was like very easy to predict what was going to happen.
Why did you sell all your holdings in June?
Because I felt that I was very much going to be winning, and I think I would have a tremendous, a conflict of interest owning all of these different
So why not announce it back in June when you were under fire for a lack of financial transparency?
I let everybody know. I let everybody know. And I was never a big stockholder, but I bought a lot of different stocks, and I had a lot of stocks before then, too. And what I did is I sold them. I don't think it's appropriate for me to be owning stocks when I'm making deals for this country that maybe will affect one company positively and one company negatively. I just felt there was a conflict.
Speaking of things that are appropriate, shortly after winning the election, you gave an interview and you talked about your use of Twitter, and you said that you were going to be much more restrained as the president because you seem to understand that perhaps having fights on Twitter would not be appropriate for the president. I have not seen you backing off fights on Twitter. In the time since you were elected, you've targeted the cast of Hamilton, the New York Times, China, Boeing, the media, and SNL. Is this proving to be a habit that you're finding a difficult time breaking?
No, I think I am very restrained, and I talk about important things. I talked about, as you know, recently China and the fact we talked about their devaluation. We talked about their building this massive military fortress in the middle of the South China Sea, which they're not supposed to be doing, and other things. And frankly, it's a modern-day form of communication.
Even when you're picking fights with it?
Between Facebook and Twitter, I have, I guess, more than 40 million people, and that's a modern-day form of communication. I get it out much faster than a press release. I get it out much more honestly than dealing with dishonest reporters. Reporters are dishonest.
On that subject, but on a lighter note, can we agree, President-elect Trump, that at this stage it would be better for you to simply stop watching SNL as opposed to watching it and then complaining about it?
Well, I hosted SNL when it was a good show, but it's not a good show anymore. First of all, nothing to do with me. There's nothing funny about it. The skits are terrible.
So why do you keep watching it?
I like Alec, but his imitation of me is really mean-spirited and not very good. I don't think it's good. And I do like him, and I like him as an actor, but I don't think that his imitation of me gets me at all, and it's meant to be very mean-spirited, which is very biased. And I don't like it.
But you can't bring yourself to stop watching it.
No, look, frankly, the way the show is going now, and you look at the kind of work they're doing, who knows how long that show's going to be on? It's a terrible show.
I think it's going to do okay. Let me end where we started, Time Magazine. I mentioned to you that it says Person of the Year. It's got your picture, and then the subheadline is President of the Divided States of America. You referenced that a little while ago. What would you have written as a subheadline?
Well, I think putting divided is snarky. But again, it's divided. I'm not president yet, so I didn't do anything to divide. And I will say this. I've now gotten to know President Obama. I really like him. We have, I think I can say at least for myself, I can't speak for him, but we have a really good chemistry together. We talk. He loves the country. He wants to do right by the country and for the country. And I will tell you, we obviously very much disagree on certain policies and certain things, but I really like him as a person.
I was fascinated to read in your interview that you say you actually talked to President Obama about some of your possible appointments.
I do.
And the people you would surround yourself in the White House. Can you tell me specifically who you mentioned to President Obama that you were considering appointing?
Well, I don't think that would be fair to him, but I have asked him what he would think of this one and that one. I've asked him what he thinks are the biggest problems of the country, what are some of the greatest assets going forward. And we have a very good dialogue. And I must tell you, I never met him before this, and I never spoke to him before this. I do like him. I love getting his ideas, and I may differ. In many cases, I differ very greatly.
Right, just real quickly, though. In one of those cases where you went to him with a specific person you had in mind for an appointment, did you go with his recommendation?
I would say that, yes, I take his recommendations very seriously, and there are some people that I will be appointing, and in one case have appointed, where he thought very highly of that person, yes.
President-elect Donald Trump, Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.